For more than 30 years, Robert Edward Auctions has been the nation's premier auction house, specializing in sports memorabilia and trading cards. With significant experience and expertise in all major sport, non-sport, and Americana collectibles, REA has helped clients achieve record-breaking prices for their items and has done so with a reputation for integrity and transparency. By actively partnering with collectors and enthusiasts throughout the entire process, REA has created the hobby's most trusted forum for selling high-quality collectibles. Go to robertedwardauctions.com for more information on how to buy or sell in their next auction.
I'm Danny Black.
And I'm John Newman.
Welcome to Card Mensches.
All right, episode 15. We lasted 15 of these. No one killed each other, at least not yet. So there'll be 15 in the books. I'm John Newman, as the intro said, and that is still Danny Black. How you doing, Danny?
I would like to say I pulled that off flawlessly.
Yeah, we're going to rehire the producer who's getting it right again.
Right, I think I was about to lose my job, so good to nail one.
So we did a list last episode of Card Mensches with the top 10 Jewish Major League Baseball players of all time. We're gonna have a list today where it's not a ranking list, but overrated players and players to buyer beware. So what this is guys that are pretty good players. Obviously, you can't pick a mediocre player and then say, hey, I would be careful here. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? So these are fairly popular players, pretty good ball players, but when it comes to the hobby, they're just not – there's things that make me – say buyer beware, or purchase at your own risk. So laughing at the comment from Mike Petty over
Mike, that was my high school career.
Yeah, so maybe that'll be a future episode, not tonight. Again, Danny, this is our own personal opinion. We don't want to offend anyone. If we name a player who someone PCs or super collects, it's not a personal. It's just our own opinions. This is not, if you buy in them or you collect them, keep enjoying the hobby as you wish. And this is just lists that we put together. We did not share our lists, so we may have some in common. That'll be interesting to see there. We're gonna go where you mention a guy first, and I'll mention a guy after you, and then we'll come back to you. Obviously, chat room, chime in with your own opinions, or tell us how we're wrong, or that sort of thing. So, Danny, anything to add before we get this party started?
Well, I think we're definitely going to get them wrong. So the question is how many do we actually get right? Predicting player performance is hard. Predicting card value is hard. And I think what we're doing here is, saying, hey, here's where you might get a false positive or something. I love that buyer beware statement. So I'm interested to hear your list, and I hope I don't hurt your feelings with some of the ones on my list. So I think it'll be interesting.
All right, are you ready? You want to throw out the first guy?
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna say that if you're gonna buy cards, there's gonna be not a lot of runway. And I think he's past his card prime, and that's Mookie Betts. And I know that might seem sacrilegious, but I think he's not the key player on the team since he's been with the Dodgers. He hasn't had more than 16 stolen bases since 2018, I think it is. So he's just not the same player he was in Boston. He put up a 10-WAR season before he became a free agent, and he's just not been the same player. So I think you're going to look at a guy with maybe a fantastic career, certainly, Red Sox Hall of Famer, team Hall of Famer, but I don't know that there's much more runway on his career for his cards.
He's not on my list. I don't necessarily disagree. I think he's He's very good. I think there's still some upside. You can buy him. I think he's still got some years, obviously, to play in the league and maybe put together a potential another one or two MVP type year. So he didn't make my list, but I get where you're coming from when you mentioned Mookie Betts. He was probably on my radar. He didn't fit the criteria to make my final 10 sort of buyer beware. He was in the mix, but I gave him a hall pass. So, but I get it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess the biggest thing is, and like you said, this is not a knock on the players. He feels like he's on the backside of his career. I don't, statistically, it's not terrible, but it seems like his prime was back in Boston. So.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think he kind of made a name for himself in Boston. You're waiting really for that huge year that the Dodgers got him for. I agree with you. I agree with you there. All right, I'm gonna do mine, and I'm gonna do probably the most controversial one, Danny, right off the bat here. And get it out of the way. This one that might be the one I take some abuse on. From people who either live or listening to it Monday on the podcast. And again, remember, I know I'm dragging this out. Remember, to be on this list, you have to be a good player. We can't say like Thomas Nido, the backup Mets catcher. And I mean, no one's really, unless you're really a super Thomas Nido fan. So these guys are all talented in their own right. So let me get to my first one. Juan Soto. That's right, Juan Soto of the San Diego Padres. And let me explain why. He had 3 great years at the age of from 2019, 2020, and 21. And he's kind of been quiet for Juan Soto the last couple years. And, believe me, I have him on my fantasy league for the last 3 years. He has weeks where he's kind of disappears, and he's, for being Juan Soto and how he's revered and looked at, he leaves a little bit to be desired. Now, believe me, anyone that has a fan of a team would love to have him on the team. I'm just saying from us, there are moments where he just kind of disappears, and we got those 3 years that were great, and he's kind of settled back down. And he was he had a stretch last year that many were even questioning, like, is maybe a flash in the pan? Like, can he get back to that level again? And he's playing a little bit better this year, but that ceiling's already very high, and I don't know if he can crash through it any more than he already has. So that's my first guy. It's a big one.
And I love him, right?
I didn't know that, but now I do.
So I wasn't sure if we were going to play this today, but I vehemently disagree with you. And I think it's a reminder to the audience, of what they should take when they listen to these lists.
Welcome to the failure segment, where John and Danny share their picks sure to go wrong.
Hey, listen, I hope I'm wrong. He's on, like I said, he's on my fantasy league, and he's actually playing better, but he just has – last year was really bad, and he has stretches where he's just not that guy people think he is, and it makes you really wonder, did he just catch lightning in the bottle for a couple years? I hope. All right, you're up.
Now, I will say from a card standpoint, I still think he's got a lot of potential in front of him. That's the only thing I'll add.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
But his cards are pretty pricey. So, like, it's not like you can get in at the lower level and have it pay off. So that's a factor in this list too. This is more of a hobby and sports list combined, where like last show was just all sports and accolades and talent. This has more of a hobby element to the list. So your next guy.
Well, I'm going to change the order that I was going to read them, and these are in no particular order, just to be clear, because I think there's something wrong with a certain team, and I think it's causing a lot of guys to maybe underperform. And you and I have both picked San Diego Padres, except I've chose Manny Machado. he's a guy who's got all the talent in the world, could win an MVP any season, and you can pick up his rookie card for next to nothing. The hobby seems to have no love for him at all. He seems to have virtually no appeal, as a chase or anything like that. And I think there's reasons to be concerned at this point in his career, after this many years, to not have him take that next step and to not have any hobby love. I would say as good as he is, he's definitely a buyer beware.
I actually like that one. I don't have him on my list, but again, he's another guy that was on my top 20 when I narrowed it down to 10. So I won't argue that. I think I kept him out, Danny, because while I agree with you, I also think he's been pretty steady. Like, he pretty puts up consistent numbers. I just don't think he's had that like MVP type year that many people are kind of waiting for. But he is consistent. So I didn't put him on my list, but I can't argue. Another good pick. Just we have different ones.
Real
All
quick,
right, I'm gonna. Yeah.
I have a question for you. Do you think the hobby has any love for him?
I think there are people. I think there are certain collectors that do collect Manny Machado. I've had him come up to my. I think he's collected more than you think. Is he collected in the same way Mike Trout is, or Juan Soto? No, you know what I mean. Not on that level. I get that you're trying to say there, but I think there are people who still collect him. Just from his start in Baltimore, which you're very familiar with as well. All right, another big name. I'm getting kind of my bigger names right out the gate here. And this one's probably not as controversial as Juan Soto. He broke the American League home run record last year, and that's Aaron Judge. And
Wow.
Before people crucify me for that one. What do we know historically with big framed baseball players? What happens?
It's hard to stay healthy.
Yeah, they start to break down. We've already seen that with Aaron Judge. He's only had 2 full seasons. If you look at his career, he's only played 2 years where he played basically the whole year. And it almost seems like you got to take him out. Last year was one of those 2 years, and then hence breaking that home run record. But most years, it seems like he's going to miss 20 to 30 games, if not more, like Mike Petty said. So I'm not saying he isn't good when he plays. He's excellent, but he misses time with injuries. And as he gets older, I think those injuries, we've seen these bigger framed guys start to break down. Things start to clank around, right? And so Aaron Judge, and I know Yankee fans, and I'm not one of them, even though I'm in New York, I know Yankee fans are probably getting a picture of me ready to put on the dartboard. But he's been in the league since 2017, and he's played 2 full seasons. So that's 1 out of every 3 years. And that's telling. And he's a young player still. What happens when he gets in his 30s?
Well, I'm going to take the hobby perspective again of his prices are also very high. And so, for him to keep it up is a very high pace.
Yeah. And that's the thing. He probably, I know that's going to sound crazy. He might have had the best year of his career already. Like, I think that's what kind you were alluding to. In last year, right? He may never repeat that. And then not only will he may never repeat that year, he's going to probably miss more time as he gets older. So, and Mike Pay says he's a nice guy, right? But, I just think when I saw what the Yankees paid him, it looked like he was going to the San Francisco Giants. And at the last minute, the Yankees kind of swooped in and made that deal for crazy money. I don't even remember what it was. I just said, I get it because they didn't want him leaving the Yankees. But that's going to be a deal at some point. They're going to regret what he's getting paid and the time he's missing.
I believe they gave him a third of Central Park. I'm not sure of the exact terms.
And the Empire State Building. Right. So there's going to be a time where that contract like some of these big ones we've seen before, Pujols and Alex Rodriguez and others, where that contract is going to be, they're going to kind of regret it. Or if not regretting it, they're going to wish they weren't paying for what they were getting for their return on their investment of the contract. So, so far so good, but we know how things can change. So I think he's a candidate for that.
Okay, I can definitely see where you're coming from. I think he has a chance. They still play him in center field. I think they have a chance to get him out of the outfield if they want to and DH him and protect him a little bit. But the numbers he put up last year, I mean, from a hobby perspective, I agree with you. It's going to be hard to keep up the pace based, from last year. So I see where you're coming from, and can very much agree with that side of it. Now I'm going to take a different perspective. Here's one where the hobby, you could hear echoes and crickets in the room. How about two guys who are in the top 10 on the all-time list for saves, Craig Kimbrell and Kenley Jansen, and you could find their rookie cards probably in a dollar bin.
Yeah, but I'm gonna are people really collecting relievers though? You know what I mean?
They are probably both going to be Hall of Famers.
Yeah, but who, like Lee Smith? I mean, we can Trevor Hoffman.
But that's why it's buyer beware in my mind. I mean,
listen, I'm not a Craig Kimbrell fan with the bird stance before he pitches or whatever that is. It's goofy, but they are dollar bin guys. So I won't argue with them. You're giving them one slot. You're just putting them on the president, vice president.
I'm combining them because I think it's the same thing. Is that I'm with you? Is I think that people, if they're not aware or if they haven't thought about it, relievers don't carry any weight in the hobby. They really just don't. Even if we're talking what could be future Hall of Famers, which is unbelievable to say. When was the last time you said guys that could be future Hall of Famers have absolutely no appeal?
All right, from that standpoint, I agree with you, but it's just that I don't know if they're collectible. Just because people just generally, not saying everybody, but most people don't collect relievers. But I agree, they're Hall of Famers that won't have a lot of desirability. All right, going to go with my next guy here again in no particular order. Chris Bryant of the Colorado Rockies now. Think about this guy when he was on the Cubs. He was on a fever pitch on a Hall of Fame track, right? And you think, okay, goes to the Giants, plays 1 year there, and then signs as a free agent with the Rockies in Coors Field, right? He's going to hit 40 home runs. He's going to hit fly balls that go out, and he's going to be Chris Bryant again. And he's got a power outage. He looks like he's on the back nine of his career, and I don't think he necessarily is. Maybe he is. He has 147 career home runs now. He's 31 years old, and I think for those
he's
that thought
31 years old, wow,
yeah,
that's a career that's gone by.
And I even listen. I was guilty of that too. I thought he was going to go to Colorado and kind of resurrect his career, and he hasn't lived up to what he was when he was, with the Cubs.
His best season might have been his rookie year.
Right there, his rookie year or the second year.
Second year, yeah.
You're right. And since then, he's been sort of lost. Like you might see him on a Dairy Queen commercial, but he's not the Chris Bryant that you used to revere.
And there was a ton of hobby love for him when he was coming up as a rookie. Remember all the controversy about them holding him down for service time and everything else.
Yep.
It seems like small potatoes now.
Yeah, and it's weird, but he's not on a Hall of Fame track at 147 home runs, and not in this day and age. And then, not only is he not hitting home runs, Danny, he's not hitting that home runs at Coors Field. And that's like a double whammy. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think there's something going on. I don't know mechanics. I don't know what it is. But has not lived up to the billing and makes the list. And I put him on the list because he's still revered in collectors. There's a lot of people that like Chris Bryant that I think think that it's the same Chris Bryant that's with the Cubs, and he's no longer that guy, at least right now. Can he turn things around? I don't think so, but I don't have to do what he does.
Well, from a hobby perspective, he's probably fallen. It's been almost 10 years in his career now. And it's probably been downhill almost every year that his stuff's lost money.
Yep.
So I like that one on the list. I'm going to take a timeout and pay a couple bills. Stay right there.
Experience, quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry? We are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com.
Pastime Marketplace has a line of graded card cases that are waterproof, airtight, dust-tight, and hardened to protect and organize your valuable collection. Each of our cases come with pre-cut and pre-formed foam, so you don't have to cut and tear the foam when you get your case. The pre-cut foam inserts are sized to hold PSA, Beckett, SGC, and CGS slabs. Store it all safely and securely with a case from Pastime Marketplace. Check them out at www.pastimemarketplace.com.
Okay, now you got to promise not to get upset at my next one.
I got a feeling I know who it is, and if it is who I think, he made both of our lists.
90 strikeouts and 16 walks as a hitter. This is
maybe it's not who I'm thinking of.
No, I don't think it is. I've been saving this one. A lot of people think it's a breakout year for him, so that's why I'm putting the buyer beware label on Luis Robert. That despite the breakdown,
that's my guy. Yeah, that's my guy.
That's why
listen, I can't really argue yet. I think there can. I hope there's someday I can make an argument because I still like Luis Robert. But yeah, I get it why you made your list. He didn't make my list. A little homerism there. I like him. Could I put him on the list based on the track record? Sure. But I still have faith. He's still young. And so he didn't make my list, but I get it. I thought you were going in a different direction, and I still think we do have a guy in common or two, but that wasn't the guy.
I thought I might catch you off guard on that one. And I actually really like Luis Robert. And I would say if you own him and you're worried about selling him, sell him now. He might make the All-Star team.
Yeah. Yeah, he's having a not so bad year. So, all right, here's my next guy. And I will preface this. I have a lot of his stuff. And not because I bought him, but whenever I was opening stuff, I would always pull his rookies or his auto. So it's almost like I collect them, but I actually don't. It just looks that way. And, he's the son of a former major league player. I think that built a little hype up when he came into the league on a young, inexperienced team. And he just hasn't been the guy that I think people thought they were going to see, and that's Ke'Bryan Hayes of the Pirates. And, they were like, hey, this guy's going to be better than his dad. Well, you know what? If they were both the same age and this was a fantasy draft, I'd take Charlie Hayes over Ke'Bryan right now. He hits in the 240s.
I would take Von Hayes.
Huh?
I would take Von Hayes.
Von Hayes, remember him? Tall, skinny, lanky lefty. He hits every year in the 240s. All I heard was he's going to steal bases and kind of be a 20-20 guy. And he's not stealing. He's not even he doesn't barely hit double digits in steals. He's hit single digit home runs every year. You look at his numbers. If I showed you his numbers and covered up his name, you'd be like, what's the big deal about this guy? Yet he's still collected. People are still buying him. I just don't think he's gonna be what people thought he what they projected him as. I think he got a lot of hype. And then I don't know if you remember last year. I don't root against people, a young man, right? But last year there was a play where they were running the bases on him. He's playing third base, and there was going to be a play at third. He's putting seeds in his mouth instead of covering the bag. And then after the game, he said, he just kind of poo-pooed it. Like, instead of owning it and saying, my bad, it never happened again. I had a momentary lapse of reality, So I just lost a lot of respect for him after that play. And when I look at the body of work, he's a single-digit home run guy. He's a single-digit steal guy who bats 240. And they're paying him, I'll say this. The Pirates don't pay anyone big money, but they're paying him big money for what the Pirates normally pay. He's like their big money.
Well, the funny thing is his strength really is supposed to be his defense. And it brings up another hobby point here, which is the hobby doesn't care about defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just something to consider. It's not really a thing. I did want to. There was one comment here.
That's Dan Ryan.
Hey, Dan. What's that? Hey, Dan. Evening, guys. Early home run derby guesses, and here's the point that I like. That seems to be the best mid-season 48-hour bump opportunity. Well, I just wanted to make a comment. I think it is as far as things that are planned. The best opportunity is when somebody does something amazing that goes unplanned, a 4-homer game or, no-hitter or something like that. But as far as planned activities, the home run derby it is closed, but it is a small window, and it really depends on the player. But I like that comment, and it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for my next one?
Let's hear it.
Jacob deGrom.
All right. This is, before you say your deGrom spiel, it's sad. I love Jacob deGrom. I love him. I honestly do. Guess what? He made my list too, but go ahead first.
Yeah. Adam Jones, the former Oriole outfielder, made a comment that just being able to post every day is a skill and a talent within itself. Jacob deGrom, for as good as he's been, has not been able to stay healthy, unfortunately. It's not a knock on him. He's able to do amazing things with a baseball that few human beings can do. But his body has paid the toll. Unfortunately, lost for another season already. So maybe when healthy, the most dominant pitcher in the game. But it's hard just, to say his name without saying when healthy. So the hobby, I don't think has the love long-term for deGrom. I think whatever love there was in New York, I think this is definitely the buyer beware label.
Yeah. I'm a deGrom guy. I've got deGrom stuff in the case that's actually right behind me, some autograph stuff. Love him. Love him as a person. I think he's a great guy. I think you said it. He's a great pitcher when he's on the mound. There's where the rub is, right? When I wanted the Mets to keep him, but I didn't want the Mets to overpay. The Rangers overpaid. He's on the DL. This is kind of what the Mets saw when they didn't re-sign him. And a lot of Mets fans were upset, and there was rumblings from internally with the Mets saying, listen, you'll see why. They didn't come out and really say it like that exactly. It's pretty rude to say that, but they just we couldn't justify the contract that the Rangers gave. And now the Rangers can't justify, at least in the moment, the contract that the Rangers gave. So he's a great pitcher, but the injuries are starting to add up. And when you buy pitchers or collect pitchers, right, 70-80% of the time, the hope is that they have a Hall of Fame career, right? And early on, it looked like he was on that track, on the easy track. And that thing's been derailed quick. And unless he can put a bunch of 5, 6, 7 years together where he plays full seasons, he's not going to make the Hall of Fame. And that's where that value comes in. And so will I buy an occasional deGrom because I like him? Sure. Will I buy it because I think I'm going to buy it for 40 and it's going to be 400? No, because I don't think that's the case anymore. So I like him personally. I winced when I wrote his name on my list, Danny, but we both picked him. There's a reason for that.
I wanted to get you warmed up a little bit before I said it out loud. I needed to ease you into it. But I think, you agreeing proves that people, it just really is a buyer beware. And somebody should have told the Texas Rangers, buyer beware. So,
yeah, well, they were going for it. And listen, they're in first place without him.
without him.
So they're doing. I can't criticize them too much. They're doing something right. It's just not the DeGrom signing.
Well, they're counting on Nate Eovaldi to stay healthy, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how long that goes. Could have put him on the buyer beware list as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to give your next one?
Yeah, and let's go back to the Yankees. And I'm not picking on the Yankees here, but Anthony Rizzo. Again, a lot of times he gets him and Chris Bryant kind of get lumped together, even though their careers in Chicago went different paths. He's 34 years old now. The dude strikes out like there's no tomorrow. Like he should be wearing glasses. He's batting .224 right now, or at last check. He had some great years between the years of 2016 and 2019. But again, since 2019, he's not been, the guy that I think many people thought he was, and what the Yankees thought they were getting. So I think when you look at, I think the name brings more caveat than what he does, what his resume does. And I know people collect him. I know Suze is probably, just unfriended me because she's a big Anthony Rizzo guy. But I'm just being honest here, right? This is a guy who's highly collected, or I don't know, maybe highly.
Well, he was when he was younger, when he was dominating.
Yeah. I guess it's a similar to Chris Bryant deal. The numbers have come down. He's gotten older. The numbers have come down, and you just start to wonder: is it ever going to be the same again? And I just don't. Yet I think he's revered enough in the hobby to be a buyer beware for me. That's what this list is. Just beware what, if you want to buy him because you love him and he's your favorite guy and you met him and he did a I get all that. But if you're buying because you think like, hey, I'm going to flip this years down the road, or he's going to be a potential Hall of Famer, that's where I say be careful here. And that's where my 10 guys are coming.
Okay. I have two more sharing one spot. Do you want to throw out another name?
All right, I'll just go to the next guy on my list. Another young guy who does have time to, write the story, right? But O'Neal Cruz for the Pirates. I mean, he shows flashes, but again, he's hits for low average. He's been injured, and he's just shown flashes, and he hasn't really put. And again, he's young. Can it still happen? Out of a lot of the guys on my list, he's one of the younger guys that can get off this list. He can fight his way off this list. But right now, he's not fighting his way off this list, and that's why he's on it. When you say O'Neal Cruz, everyone has like Game Breaker, or they think Juan Soto or the next, young superstar, and he just hasn't lived up. And I just wonder, not everyone can live up to the billing, and I just don't know. If he's ever going to be what certain people think he is.
Well, and this might tie into Dan's comment here. How much stock do you guys put into coaching staffs in relation to young prospects? I think it depends on the situation, but it can have a big impact. Certain organizations are known to be very good developers of talent. Some organizations are known to work well with pitchers. Some organizations work well with veterans, that come over. So I think there's definitely, something to that. And the only reason I bring it up, good evening, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
The reason I bring it up is with O'Neal Cruz. He's got so much talent, but he's got such a unique build that I think there is pressure on that staff to coach him the right way. I think, he's really a unicorn in his playing shortstop at 6'7". So
he's got a rifle. He's got a gun.
He's got all the tools in the world.
He's got the tools, right? He's got the toolbox, and the tools are in there.
Yep. But
can you use them? Can you make it happen? That's what we're talking about. To answer Dan's question, about how much stock, it's huge. It's a great point by Dan. And let's be honest, the Pittsburgh's probably not a great place to make it happen with their payroll, their lack of payroll. I can't say anything about their coaching staff either way, but with lack of payroll usually means they're not getting the highest quality of everything else. And so, yeah, I'm sure that's a huge factor. And so, would O'Neal Cruz be playing better in a different city? I don't know. But I don't think playing in Pittsburgh is necessarily a positive,
Well,
maybe a positive, and he can crack the lineup sooner.
I'll tell you, I think the hobby loves O'Neal Cruz, and the last couple shows I set up at, there was a lot of demand for his stuff. So, if the buyer beware label on him is interesting. I don't know if I agree with you completely on that one just yet, because I think he's young and there's a ways to go. But his prices were certainly very high, and I can't deny that at all. But a ton of demand for him, and once again, you just look at that build and those skills.
Yep.
So,
all right.
Okay,
so you got two guys. You said.
Yeah, and this hurts me, and I've been saving this one as an Orioles fan. I think nationally the Orioles are starting to get some attention. The American League batting leader is Austin Hayes, somewhere around 313. I think I have that correct. And on the IL right now, first baseman Ryan Mountcastle tied for the team lead in home runs. I would say buyer beware on both of them. I think people, Mountcastle was a big prospect. A lot of people think this is Austin Hayes' breakout year that they've been waiting for a couple of years. And as somebody who watches them, consistently, I think they're incredibly talented. They both bring a lot to the table, but no card value. Would not try to buy low on them. I don't think there's anywhere for their stuff to go. And without a doubt, Austin Hayes has a chance to be an all-star, and Mountcastle was probably, would have been at 15, 20 homers had he not gotten hurt.
All right. Neither of these guys made my list, but you watch them more than I do, so I'm not going to argue with you. I like Ryan Mountcastle. Again, maybe it never happens for him, but I thought it would. So, I'm still holding out. I'm still holding out some hope that he can put it together and have a kind of an all-star type career, but you watch him almost every day. So for me to argue against that wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, the strikeouts once again are just through the roof. Has a hard time adjusting, but all the power in the world. So,
all right, my turn.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. I don't know. I think he's fairly collected, especially in the overseas market. So he made my list. And that's another pitcher, Yu Darvish. And now Yu Darvish doesn't get hurt. That's not the problem with Yu Darvish. The problem with Yu Darvish is, look at his stats. One year he has like Cy Young numbers. The next year he looks like a mediocre pitcher. And it's every other year. It's uncanny. So he has a great year, followed by a bad year, followed by a great year, followed by a bad year, followed by a great year. Look at his career. It's uncanny, and that's just not a recipe for success.
I love that call, by the way, but he came in with so much hype. Do you remember how much hype he came in with?
Yeah. And he's a good pitcher. Well, he's a good pitcher, but he's good this year, and he's bad next year, and he'll be good the next year. I call it yo-yo stats. It's a yo-yo.
Would you ever buy?
No, but I tend not to buy pitchers just as a rule. I break my own rule sometimes, but I've never broke my rule with him. But if you're a fantasy leaguer and he just had a bad year, buy him cheap because he's about to have a good year. And then if you're in a keeper league, don't keep him. Let him go because he's going to have a bad year. Then get him the next year. Go get one of his baseball cards or Google it. To everyone out there, he has a good year followed by a bad, like almost his whole career. I was shocked when I looked at that.
I just want to know what's going on in San Diego that we've ended up with 3 Padres on our list.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I don't have 3 Padres, but you're saying combined. So.
Combined, we have 3 Padres. Yeah. Yes. Soto, Machado, and Darvish. So now you said something. You said pitchers don't have value. I did make a list of 3 rules that I go by to try to stay away from as general buyer beware rules. So can I give the 3 rules kind of as one list here? Okay, stay away from pitchers, catchers, and right-handed power hitting first baseman. Those 3, you'll never get your money back.
Yeah. I won't disagree. I think that's pretty accurate statement.
So those, and I think not all of the ones we're picking tonight, but a lot of them, we could have picked would fit those rules.
Yeah, no doubt. I tried to pick, and we're not done. I think 2 more.
Yeah.
I tried to pick guys that have some collectability, but like I'm just like, the crossing guard with the stop sign. Like, hang on there a second. You want to be careful here. That sort of, mentality. So go ahead. I think it's your turn.
No, I just gave my 3 rules. Go ahead.
All right. So my next guy, and he's on the back 9 of his career, but he's starting to, based on this year, right? He's the 2020 American League MVP, Jose Abreu. He's 36 years old now, and the regression has started. And many people, still think he has a shot at the Hall, but, he's on my fantasy team, and he didn't hit his first home run till like the second month of the year. He's got 4 now. He's batting .224. He's 36 years old. He's got 247 career home runs. Does he have enough left to cross that Hall of Fame finish line? I don't think so. And so I do know people who collect Jose Abreu based on like he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and I'm going to get in on him before people the cat's out of the bag. Well, now he's sort of sputtering a little bit, and I don't think the cat ever comes out of the bag. I think the cat stays in the bag, and I just think he's a guy. And I know 3 or 4 people here like that come to the shows I set up at and ask me, hey, what do you got? You got any new Jose Abreu? And so I might be costing myself some sales here. I just don't think he's I think he's starting to regress, and I think his best years have been played, and I think he's falls short of a Hall of Fame career now.
First of all, I agree with you. I don't think he's anywhere near a Hall of Famer, but I think his collectability really also took a hit when you change cities. When you get known to be tied to one city for so long, and you're revered in that city, I think the collectors, you lose your collector base, because now the White Sox fans may not collect him as much. The Houston fans probably don't have a real connection to him to collect him, or certainly collect his White Sox cards. So for me, for almost different reasons, I would have a buyer beware. But I'm with you. I think he had a great start to his career, but talk about getting old quick.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have one more? I'm out.
I do have one more. You want me to say it?
Yep.
All right. Another young shortstop prospect. Guy talks. He talks a good game. If he could play as good as he talked, he would be a legitimate all-star. He's with the Marlins, and that's Jazz Chisholm. And like I said, he does steal. He is quick. And but he's playing outfield now, matter of fact, and they're trying him there. But he's batting .229, and I've never seen a guy who bats that low each year talk that much. And like to me, like if I'm playing against him, I'm like, what's your batting? And he's talking junk. I'd be like, what's your career batting average? 220 what?
Well, I gotta disagree with you because I was terrible and I talked a lot. So other than that, I agree.
So I just. Like he's flashy, and again, he's a guy that likes to chirp and but he's, there's a saying, right? His mouth is writing checks that his ass can't cash, and I saved that one for only certain people, but it really fits the Jazz Chisholm kind of mentality. Like he talks like he's a 10-year all-star, and yet he's far from that, and so I put him on my list. Maybe a little bit out of spite for that, but when is it going to happen where the play backs up the speak? And I don't know if it ever does because he speaks a lot, It'd have to be some big playing to match the level he does of talking.
Well, interesting. I still think there's hope for Jazz Chisholm, but I think there could be a very good chance he turns into D. Gordon, Jerickson Profar, a lot of extremely athletic guys that have moved from infield to outfield and never really found a home and never hit quite enough to carry it. So, yes, Mike, this list could be 100 long, and that's fine.
But we don't want the show.
The show is not
10-hour stream.
Delino DeShields, yes.
Delino DeShields. Remember Delino DeShields?
He had a pretty good career.
He was pretty good. I think Delino DeShields, it's like a package deal. You get Marquise Grissom and Delino DeShields together.
Yep, and definitely that's a name I haven't heard in a while. So that's your list. So what are the takeaways from this? Stay away from prospects that until they prove themselves, and dump vets before they go down too fast.
I mean, if that's really what you're in it for, I guess that would be the template, right? Have fun, right? Listen, at the end of the day, collect. This isn't to say get rid of all your cards of this guy. Or no. I just told you I have Jacob deGrom stuff. He made my list. I still love Jacob deGrom. So however you choose. But if financial interest is of interest to you, this is where you got to be careful with certain these kind of guys, because you could take one in the chops if you go overboard.
All right. Well, we are pushing I think double our goal time tonight. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, just we got the National coming up. We can do a shameless plug. Hobby Palooza starts tomorrow. Hobby Hotline will be kicking that off on Bench Clear at our normal time slots. You don't have to do anything too crazy. And then I'll have you're going to have a Hobby News Daily on Sunday show, and I'm going to have Sports Card Nation on Sunday as well, 2 p.m. Eastern. And Mark Hoyle's I don't know if he's still in the room. I think so. He's going to be on the panel with yourself, Leighton Shelton from Just Collect, and Jason Schwartz, Heavy J Studios. And we're going to talk some vintage. We're going to have a vintage roundtable, and that will be Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Bench Clear Network for Hobby Palooza.
And I just want to finish it with, do you guys have any teams you'll never buy guys from? And the answer is the Indianapolis Colts. And from Baltimore, I'm gonna check out on that one, John.
I don't have any teams. You don't want me to finish what I'm gonna say. That rule doesn't apply to me. But if I had to pick one, it would be hard pressed for me to buy some Ravens guys.
I knew we were gonna end up there. I knew we were gonna end up there.
I had to do it.
It's all fair in love in the AFC North. So for everybody who joined in tonight live, always appreciate it.
Thank you.
All the comments, the words getting around. The downloads have been unbelievable on the Monday releases. So to everybody who listens on the podcast, just thank you. The support and the feedback has just been great. So I just wanted to give a shout out and a thank you to everybody there. And Mark, we will see you Sunday as well.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Take care. Have a good night.